Welcome to the Startup Grind.
All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Startup Grind Sacramento. My name is Rich Foreman, and just a little bit about Startup Grind. We actually represent 2 million entrepreneurs. We are in over 600 cities and 125 countries. And we've been in places like Iran and Ukraine, and Russia, actually. So, and it's just basically entrepreneurship is global. And our mission is basically to give startups everywhere the education and opportunities they need to build, grow, and scale their company. And one of the things I find that's unique about us is our values. And when I first saw this, I thought it was pretty corny. It's, we believe in making friends, not contacts, believe in giving, not taking, and helping others before helping yourself. And when I first saw it, that was pretty corny. But, as I've dealt with, startups, I've actually found that, having this attitude really helps. My first startup event was was like 7 years ago in Silicon Valley, and there was a startup that was having a hard time, setting up their booth, and I actually got underneath there and futzed with the cables and helped them out. Conversely, I had some other startups that were SEO experts. And they would look at my website and go, "Rich, you don't even have Sacramento mentioned on your website." So it's basically entrepreneurs helping each other out. I'm going to pause here and give it over to Laura Good, who is the Startup Sac Queen, or as she likes to describe herself, the Den Mother, for updates. You're muted, Laura.
Yeah. So thanks, Rich. If you watch the door while I share this part. So my name's Laura Good, and I'm the co-founder of Startup Sac. Startup Sac is a nonprofit that helps entrepreneurs and startups connect with the resources they need to be successful in the greater Sacramento region. And we do this a couple of ways, several ways really. One is our website, which I just posted in the chat. There's lots of information on what's happening in the region, and as well as other kinds of resources that are not event related that can help you out. And then we also have some of our own events that are an opportunity for you to learn from other entrepreneurs. We have one coming up, Startup Happy Hour, with Arik Levy, who is the founder and CEO of Luxor One, which is a successful Sacramento company. I just posted the link. You can register for that. It is virtual right now, but we'll do a little fireside chat with Arik where he'll share his startup story, and then you'll have a chance to ask him questions. Another event that we've partnered with the city of Elk Grove on is called Pitch Elk Grove. If you've been following that, you may know that we've narrowed it down to 8 finalists who are going to pitch at a live event on March 31st. It'll be held in Elk Grove. And everyone, you're invited to register. We'd love to have you there. It's going to be a big celebration with appetizers, beer, wine, soft drinks, cupcakes. We hope you can make it. We just ask that you register in advance. We're expecting about 100 to 150 people. It's going to be held in a really nice space in Elk Grove. So we do things like that as well. We also do a lot of what I'll call relationship brokering. So if you need to meet someone, please, not just investors, but someone that might be able to help you learn something or connect with someone who has similar experience. We know a lot of people. I've been working in the Sacramento startup community for almost 15 years now, so we're happy to do that as time allows. In the meantime, if you want to know what's happening in the greater Sacramento region, I invite you to sign up for the Startup Digest. It comes out every Monday morning, posting the link there. I round up what's happening in the greater Sacramento region that's of interest to startups. And there are some in-person events are coming back. A lot of stuff is still virtual, but there's also some opportunities to get together in person. And then we also have a private curated group on Facebook, the Startup Sac community group. There's about 1,000 people in that group. Just about all of them are startup founders or interested in startups. And there's no soliciting that goes on there. It's all, people helping other people out. And then last but not least, I want to mention 1 Million Cups. This is not a program of Startup SAC, but I'm on the volunteer organizer team. We've been doing this for almost 5.5 years. Every Wednesday morning, we get together virtually right now from 9 to 10 a.m. And two entrepreneurs will present their companies in short 6-minute presentations, followed by 20 minutes of feedback from an audience of their peers. So if you have a company, an early stage company, we'd love to have you present at 1 Million Cups. We'd also love to have you be a member of the audience. And that's all I've got, Rich. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Laura. And thanks for allowing me to do. So in this part right here, this is where I give startups in a local area an opportunity to do a quick elevator pitch. And I think I have two volunteers. Leslie, do you want to start first?
Yes, I can. Would you like me to share my screen?
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead and stop sharing, and you could stop sharing. All right. Go ahead, and if you have some slides, go ahead and share.
I do. Let's see. The question is, there we go. There we go. We gotcha. Get out of the way there. The Zoom is always in the way. I'm Leslie Sheridan, and I'm the founder of Planet Sense. Planet Sense intends to be the world's largest sustainable products and services marketplace. And I do say and services because 98% of the ones who exist in the sustainable space are B2C. And 68.5 million global climate refugees in 2017. This is my why. That's just not okay. And it's been growing exponentially since then. It leads to wars. They are projecting 26% more wars on our planet due to it. A hot planet, obviously, which we see already. And there's already 5 million deaths a year due to climate change. The problems, obviously, climate change. Consumers really lack a way to be fully part of the solution. And politicians, of course, do not want to act. They've got business in their pockets. So businesses are losing customers, employees, investors, partners, and suppliers due to environmental inaction and bad action. Millennials and Gen Zs are really the one that's driving this bus, which is really, really great. Our solution is bringing together individuals and organizations in a marketplace where they can shop. Organizations can actually use our marketplace as an employee benefit, customer employee incentive, partner recognition, reward, etc. And so those organizations can then share it with other organizations going downward. So if they share it with an employee at Uber, Uber employee shares it with his side hustle, customers, etc. It just goes downward, which is really where we get the scale. Channel partners are going to be people in the areas where the usage occurs with our marketplace, like an employee benefit company, customer incentive loyalty companies, etc. Sellers will be both sustainable products and services companies and sustainable marketplaces in the B2C space. And our differentiation is we are B2C and B2C. We're products and services. We have a very vast range of products and services all in one place. And all of them are sustainable. We have a patent pending algorithm technology for our technology platform, which measures sustainable impact, extensive vetting. And myself right now as the founder, I'm looking for my CEO. And I've got wonderful global help from my wonderful interns. Initial ask is $550K to get the platform built. Seed is $3 million. And exits are IPO or acquisition. And if it's acquisition, it's got to be somebody that's really approved. And, you know, if Jeff Bezos showed up at my door with $8 million right now, I would actually slam it in his face and say, thank you very much, but no. So same thing goes for private equity. I want people that really care about the planet, not just making money. They will make a lot of money. And the ROI there, we just had to pick only 6 industries because there are thousands of industries. So We're looking just in those 6 industries at $38.5 million a year. The fastest growing category of all CPG growth right now, 50.1% is in sustainable products, 50.1%. And those products only make up 16.6% of all products. So very hot place to be, pun intended, and hopefully cooler.
Hey, thank you, Leslie. And Chris, did you want to do a quick pitch? Or I'm sorry, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll take care of that.
Yeah, sure. You know, I actually wasn't going to do that, but I'd love to jump in and just do a couple of slides. So I'll go ahead and share if that's all right. This is an awesome opportunity. Thank you guys very much.
I'm glad to.
Can you enable screen sharing for me?
Yeah, I think, let's see.
Looks like I
did that. Chuck,
got it now.
your audio is not good. Thank you.
All right. Hope everyone can see my screen here. So Beconix is a no-code platform. It makes it super easy to create smart, connected IoT products. It's really for anyone to make a product from their initial idea to making a first prototype to actually taking you all the way through your final shipping product. We are a perfect fit for this huge market of businesses who need to create disruptive offerings or modernize their existing products to take on their competitors. We're a great product for makers. We have a ton of people creating with it right now, including people doing props. If you saw the last Ghostbusters movie, our technology was used to do props for that. So it's just a wide range of things. We've made products, myself and my team, for over 25 years, a tight team of people, and it's just hard to make a product. And so this time we've been thinking about what is a great way to do this the right way. And so we sort of reinvented the idea of making sophisticated technology products. It's just a whole new way of creating. It's less costly, it makes much better, much more innovative products. So for the product itself, this is how we're doing it. It's a software as a service authoring platform. It lets you quickly move from concept to prototype to manufacturing. We've gone all these complexities of traditional hardware and software development. We've created a simple no-code drag and drop environment. It quickly lets you design the hardware, the software, and even a mobile app for your product. So what you're seeing actually is a screenshot of the product itself. It looks simple, but it's amazingly powerful. We've placed all that power and all the difficult and time-consuming complexities just right under the hood. And so you can create in many different areas, environmental and scientific arenas. It's like the smart connected pump shown here. On the consumer side, from toys and games to professional applications like automation, lighting, signage, etc. And smart household products in emerging areas such as wearable technologies and just a ton more. There are a number of great things, great people working with this right now. There's a company that is creating their own piece of hardware out there for wearables in the education market, all based on our technology, Beconix, and they're including Beconix OS, our operating system, right on their little device. That's in the lower right corner there. What you see, that company's called Enlighten. Dwarven Forge is a company, if anyone, I'm sure you all have heard of Dungeons & Dragons, but all those people that used Dungeons & Dragons in the early days grew up, became accountants and attorneys and all kinds of things and have money, and they buy amazing amounts of things. There's a company called Dwarven Forge that did a $6 million Kickstarter that we were a part of using our technology. And the reason it's important is we believe it's the first product shipped done by a creative team of people with exactly 0 lines of code written for this product. So anyone can do it, because this isn't about making great products only. It's about expanding who can make products. It's about democratizing technology. I think I'll stop there. If you're interested, you go to beconix.com to contact us, and we'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. All right, let me go ahead and finish my pitch and then share. So you guys see my slides? All right. So this is actually a small group, but in general, please, during the presentation, keep yourself muted. I did talk, Jubal did say it's okay. If you did have a question, you can either write in the chat or you could just actually just ask the question.
Yeah, please. We have a small group here, so I only have a few slides of words. Conversation's going to help us get further.
All right. And then during the Q&A, it's small, so you could just either just raise your hand or you could just blurt it out, actually.
Yeah.
And for the record, if, this is being recorded, so eventually when I have the time to edit it, I will post the recording. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'd like to introduce Jubal. Jubal, I've known Jubal from the day, it's been over like 12 years when I first entered first walked into the startup ecosystem here in Sacramento. He has a design firm, JDID. He's an award-winning designer, and he's been a pretty much integral part of our community. And today, as such, he's actually given the time today to talk about developing a prototype from an idea. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and pass it over to Jubal.
Yeah, terrific. Hi, everybody. I'm unmuted now. I've got a little slideshow for us. I know Daniel and Chris from the past, and they're going to be way ahead of this, but hopefully my message comes across anyhow to the rest of the group. Let me find my little slideshow and share. There you go. You should see a blue picture.
Yep.
Okay. Wow, that's weird. Something changed. Okay. So designing it right, moving from idea to prototype, best practices for concept and product design. There's kind of a lot in there, and I'll take responsibility for that jumble of words in our title here, because concept and product are really two wildly different things. But that's okay. Well, I'll touch on it just a little bit. With regard to best practices, I think maybe better to start with those. So we're going to talk a little bit about best practices and for concept design, and just barely touch on one hint for best practices in product design. That's a whole nother world. Today, we'll chat a bit about moving from idea to prototype, and one aspect of that I think is very, very important and can be easily not considered or looked over by someone who's aiming to build a prototype. So in concept design, to make things extremely simple, because as Rich said and Daniel said, I mean, there's decades of work that bring us to this conversation, and so it won't all be covered. But I wanted to say with one slide about a best practice for creating a concept, in my view, is really just two core things, and that's just to ease friction, make whatever thing you're trying to address better, easier, right, for the end user. And also for the business, and add joy, whatever the thing is, right? So it's just about generating concepts that do those two things in whatever words you want to use, right? And that at this point, we're in just complete blue sky, and hopefully looking at a problem or a set of problems that might be clumped together or sort of related, and that we propose to tackle all or part of those pain points with our concept. A good concept, I believe, lives in the middle of a few spheres of important things: feasibility, desirability, and viability. And you could put different words to all these things as well, but they're three rather large subjects that are overlapping, and I believe that your concept should land in the middle for it to be a good one. All of this that I'm talking about lives under the pretense that you either have or are going to have a business, and that you're going to sell a product for profit, right? And so feasible. Can the technology be produced reliably in volume production? Again, I said This is for product, so volume, is it super high volume or some low volume thing? In any case, the technology, low technology or bleeding edge stuff, it has to be reliable when it's produced in volume. And the spirit of some concepts can be in conflict with these things. And so you have to hone the concept into fitting this, right? Is it desirable? Are the end users' needs and wants being addressed with our concept? Are we really solving the problem that we set out to? Are we creating new problems, or have we just got a solution looking for a problem, right? And then viability, will enough end users pay enough for the product to support your business model? A lot of mom and pops or independent inventors will come around here and they say, you know, I've got a product, I need a CAD design. Well, actually, you've got an idea verbalized, and there's a whole bunch of steps between here and there. So kind of like CAD for what? So the root of my presentation here is really simple, and it's about building the right prototype for the opportunity that you are addressing. Not the problem statement of the product that will eventually be, but to address the opportunity that that prototype will see. In product, I really just want to lay down one thing for everyone to consider embedding in their concept and product development process. That's requirements. Requirements, simply put, are things that the product must do, period. Every decision we make, it has to support those requirements. These are the things it must do. It could be waterproof or BPA free or drop proof or lives in the sun for 4 years without, you know, the graphics fading or whatever. Business requirements. You have a landed cost. You know how you want it to arrive. There's certain safety certifications or other certifications that your product is going to need to adhere to and be certified. And so all of those things, if we take some time to document those things, really when we're in the concept development and well before we've entered product development, these things will help us tune the attributes of the prototype. What all does it do and what does it exhibit? Should is another category. These are things that come around in meetings and we go, yeah, that would be great. Or yeah, we really should do that, right? Other little features or a different kind of, you know, I put 16 USD in parentheses cost here, cost being different than price. A lot of things that come from Asia or abroad, it's not necessarily quicker. It's not necessarily less painful. People can head into that thinking that it's going to be cheaper because the price on the bottom of the page is smaller, but that's not really the cost. The cost is the time and the hair pulling and the did I get SARS and my quarantining in China and I don't know what else. All kinds of things that add up to the cost. These are things that product could do. So maybe someone in the group's got a wild idea and we just say, okay, you know, hey, if we can make that happen, it could work out, right? So those are just lower priority things that we still want to kind of keep on the list, but they are not requirements. So that's just a little thing about product development from the beginning. I think that if people employ the practice of exploring and documenting requirements at the earliest stages of a product and maybe even revisiting those on a regular basis, it will help to keep your whole project closer to on track. So we're moving from idea to prototype. And here's the root of my presentation to you. Why? What are we asking this prototype to do? These are somewhat in order. It could be to validate your ideas. Let's stop there. I think Daniel and Chris could speak at length about this, but sometimes it's not a whole prototype. It might be just one small aspect of your solution that you need to validate. We're big fans of building prototypes that we're only investing in the things that we need it to answer now or soon. And it can be hacked up, torn down, put back together, some parts replaced, whatever it takes to just invest minimally as quickly as possible to get that prototype to answer the questions that we need it to validate just the things we need it to. So as we go down this list, the list of things that the prototype needs to do become more lengthy. Maybe it's a get stakeholder buy-in, right? You might have someone above you or someone who's controlling the purse strings, or, a business partner, or, who else? It could be just a trusted end buyer. If you have some institutional product and, someone who runs care centers, these are kind of places where you might just present a presentation or a brief or something like that. But a prototype can enhance that presentation to the point where a stakeholder is really saying, yes, I get it. This is working. I like it. I'm behind you, those kinds of things, or a little bit of redirect, right? So you can come back and do that again. It could be to attract partners or funding, right? And so different kinds of prototypes can do that, and different kinds of backers have an appetite for seeing different kinds of things. We're working on a physically large prototype that's going to be shown in Florida. It's a tech startup. They've got one thing going, and this other thing is going to be sort of their second trick, and they're asking for a bunch more money. Their finance people have an appetite for seeing things full scale that actually work, even though it's not a product. It's just going to be a prototype design, kind of looks like, kind of acts like, definitely shaped like, same size and all that stuff. But that model for everyone involved is probably going to be close to $200,000. And that model is intended to entertain their funding partners for an afternoon. So different models, different prototypes for different opportunities. If they had a different sort of way of looking at things, it could be that we just do it with AR. Here, come into this room, put these goggles on and walk around the thing. We just made it in 3D CAD, but they need to touch it and feel it. And so that's what our customer is going to do. It could be to conduct a pre-market survey. We have other clients that do this thing, and we'll make visual prototypes for them and write some things, and then they have a group of people that they go out and conduct pre-market survey to tweak the feature set, make sure the price is online, or in line. A lot of things that can feedback, and it can be actually just red light, green light as well. If a market survey comes back not favorable, then the client may choose to do a different product. It could be to present to retail buyers. Different retail buyers will behave differently as well. Others say, come to me with production goods. Others, if you have a relationship, they might just go off of some verbal description and a doodle. But typically when you tell a buyer that you've got a prototype to present to them, they're not expecting something handmade. Unless you've covered that before, they are really expecting you to present something that is absolutely looks like, works like, or better, is a pre-production prototype off tooling, right? So it's actually just almost a real product. It could be to seek pre-orders also. So for those sort of menagerie of needs, or the why you would build a prototype, then you would build a different type, right? And so what prototype? To validate your ideas, that could be a very crude proof of concept or mock-up. To get stakeholders buy-in, that might be a looks like model. To attract partners and funding, that might be a works like model. Each one of these things is, in generic terms, becoming a lot more work as we go down the line. Conduct pre-market survey. Maybe you need 100% looks like and works like. These models, just the fabrication, assembly, and finishing of them can be tens of thousands of dollars before design and engineering. And so what one doesn't want to do is have a $250,000 budget and then spend $50,000 on their first model, right? We want to step through these things so that we're developing and presenting the type of prototype that's responsible to the endeavor and is also what that opportunity needs to see, not necessarily something more. There's also, computer generated imagery or virtual prototypes that can be very, dazzling because they look so real and shiny and so on. And there's some benefit to them. They're not real, but you don't have to get a plane ticket and a special suitcase to take it there. You don't have to ask them to please, please, please be careful with it, and please don't break it before they send it back, because there's only one. By the way, it was $50,000. With the CGI virtual prototype, you can do a computer animation, put 50 people on the email, push send, they're all looking at it. It's different because it's not physically tangible, but some audiences are accepting enough of that to have that continue the dialogue. And so there's many cost savings to going that route if it will work. And then there's a pre-production prototype, which is made from tooling at the factory. Let's talk about the things that will be required to develop and fabricate, assemble all of those different types of prototypes. And really, any of these could be relevant to just about any kind of product that someone's making. So what are we going to need to make these things? In the proof of concept or a mock-up, it could be just about anything that works. You can go to Garage or Home Depot or whatever for hardware stuff. In the electronic world, this could be, Arduino or breadboarding, things like this. It looks like model requires design for appearance model. That should say design for appearance CAD, or basically your whole database. Works like model, you need a design for functional model. And if we stop there a little bit, sometimes you might be designing parts for a works like model that don't very closely represent what you want the product to look like. But if you're setting that aside to just prove how it works, then you can save a lot of labor by only doing the bare minimum there, and sort of setting those things into a hibernation mode, if you will, while we're still flying along. 100% works like and looks like models. These are extremely laborious and very expensive one-off pieces, like the one that we're building for the startup down in Florida. They're pretty much a very, very expensive effort and people do it because the opportunity deserves it, and that's the wager that they want to make. And the CGI or virtual prototype, we just need skin deep 3D CAD stuff and then take it into the rendering tools and do that work. I put informed in parentheses here because ideally we would already know what's in the box and what kind of volumes the technology is taking up, and you're jumping quite far ahead and past the architecture of the device. That's just where everything is arranged and how it's assembled. So that's a ways down the line, even though it's just a virtual prototype. If it's informed, there's a lot of work that's gone into arriving at that. And then a pre-production product is going to require your design for manufacture database. That's one of the final deliverables towards the end of a project that we do deliver. And then you'll have to have the tooling, and you have to have the test run to make that pre-production prototype. Any questions yet so far? I'm kind of burning this up. Okay. Tips in moving from idea to prototype. Define what you would like to accomplish with the prototype. I covered some scenarios about that, talked about specific examples, but again, is it just that you want to prove a certain part of it? Is it all of it? What does your audience need to see? And that's what you'd like to accomplish with the prototype. That will help direct you and your team into determining what type of prototype to build first or second, and so on. Select product requirements for inclusion in the prototype. If you have a comprehensive product requirements document, it may be very difficult or costly to achieve all of those in a prototype when it won't be tested to them, or it won't be asked to do those things. And so there again, I look at the requirements and say, okay, well, for this level of prototype, for this opportunity, we're going to need to hit these things. And the rest of the stuff we're going to set aside, but kind of pay it half a mind, like keep it possible in whatever we're presenting. This is tricky to do because there's millions of different kinds of products, right? I mean, we could be talking about a t-shirt or an electric hammer or something. They're just wildly different. Plan your prototype design phase with those first two things in mind. Planning, we find, is really mission critical, and you can save days and weeks and so much heartache and headache by sitting down and dedicating a notable amount of time to just thinking and planning that footwork, getting everything in place, determining what and how you're going to do, so that when you get into the work, yeah, some tweaks are going to be made to the plan, but we already thought about it quite a lot. We wrote some stuff down and looked things up and made a file, and yeah, we took some time to properly plan that. And then commission the development of those necessary design collateral, commission the fabrication of the designed for prototype parts. Again, design for prototype may be wildly different than a product design part. There's a lot that goes into that, but yeah, just trust they're different when a part is optimized for really high volume manufacturing. A lot of attention to detail and even changes can go into the specific geometry of the part. Has everything to do with materials and processes, and back to the requirements as well. What do we need the part to do, and what do we want to pay for it? Assemble, test, possibly most likely modify your prototype, validate, employ, and repeat. And so with those things in mind, what I hope I'm helping everyone do is consider that there's many different types of prototypes, and they are each better or worse suited to different types of opportunities. Anybody want to have a conversation?
Well, hey, Jubal,
Yeah.
why don't you talk about like maybe well, let's go with what is the most common error that you see when people are trying to develop a prototype?
Common area?
Error.
Error.
Yeah. Or mistake.
Yeah. It's probably underbuilding or overbuilding. It's probably not hitting the mark, because when you're overbuilding it, you're just bringing on every problem under the sun that this thing could have, probably more problems than it's going to have later, definitely a largely different set of problems. And you can burn through a tremendous amount of resources trying to include attributes and feature content into a prototype that it's not necessary at that juncture. It can actually be worse than not necessary. It can derail your agenda. It can crash your budget and burn out your people.
So is this the same concept as like in software we call MVP? You want to build a product with enough features to meet the market needs to be successful?
Yeah, exactly. And I think of prototypes doing good for the outfit that's making them, right? But also for the other side, it's not purely internal. I'm trying to come around to my thought here. It's about showing the right thing to the right opportunity. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there a little bit.
So, Jubal, I want to, this is Daniel, I want to push a little power to, that was a really great presentation. And you covered a lot of, I think, what has hurt so many companies in the past. It's really the overspend, underspend problem. One point I would love to emphasize maybe a little bit more is this idea when you're when you have an idea about something, what I love to do is the first thing is try to make it. Try to just immediately. I mean, like, don't plan for months.
Yeah.
Don't, that is the wrong thing to do, because in our experience, I think, and why maybe we created what we created, was it's this idea that you want to get it in front of people as quickly as possible. Try it out. You learn so much more by
Yeah.
trying something out in front of somebody than you do by writing on pieces of paper. So you want to get there. And that's what I love about, services, like things that you do. It's you start to make it real almost immediately.
Yeah, I completely agree, Daniel. And a number of conversations are coming to mind when people call in. I mentioned earlier, sometimes a startup person, a mom and pop inventor will say, I got a product, and as I said before, well, actually what you have is an observation and maybe an idea.
Right.
A product is when someone says, may I have another, please? And I'm going to buy it.
Right.
That's a product. But yeah, the proof of concept, the bench model, that crude thing, run out to your garage and grab the black tape, go down to Home Depot, take whatever it takes and just throw that stuff on the table and start making something. We've done everything here. I mean, we're professionals, right? I cut up coat hangers last week just because, hey, I need that piece of plastic. Here we go. Moving on, and you don't have to CAD it and print it and all this stuff. This is just for us to see. We're just proving things. And so, yeah, Rich, and agreeing with Daniel too, it's the possibility of an overspend, and it's more than the money. It's not just the price. It's the cost to your endeavor, prototyping the wrong thing, right, Daniel? If you skip the bench model, you think you know it all, and then you're asking someone to prototype something that's not really proven. So I give people huge compliments when they call in and say, I made it. I built a thing. I've got a mock-up or a model or a beast or a mule, whatever they want to call it. Then I'm like, wow, good on you. You've got passion. You cared enough to go out and do this. Bring it on down. Let's see how it works. Because that's the first thing we're going to have to do anyways. It helps to have some experience in this, because sometimes idea people or business people, they're not necessarily mechanically gifted, or they have an idea of something that they wish would work, but it will be challenged to actually work. I had one like that recently that was, let's just say it's something that we probably should use every day. And my client, they have a whole bunch of different products that they sell out. They're headquartered in Long Island. But he had this sort of fantastic idea. Okay. And then, how are we going to do that? Right. And he didn't care. That's not his world. He's like making connections and selling stuff, dealing with tariffs or whatever. And so, we kind of had to go invent, and the way to prove your idea or of an invention is to as quickly as you can build that crude mock-up and get a toehold on what's working, and then tweak from there on, what's not working. And so, Rich and Daniel, it's absolutely that. Keep it as cheap and fast as possible in the beginning. And then when you need to, pitch to money bags, they don't want to see your popsicle sticks anymore. Then it's time to bring in the professionals.
Jubal, there's a question in the chat from, I think it's Ruby. Can a proof of concept have basic functionality, including physical and software?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the basic functionality is that you kind of have to get into, we'd have to be, I think, on the team at the table together to define basic functionality. But as I'm thinking about it today, that's exactly what a proof of concept model does, is just the basics. Yeah. It depends on what you're trying to solve and what you need to prove. There might be a lot of things. If you're creating something and it does one thing new and everything else is rather known, you can point to this and that's doing it, then you need to focus on the stuff that's not known.
So I have I don't know if it's a comment or what, but I met an entrepreneur recently who had an idea that had not been tested yet in terms of what we call the customer discovery process and finding out if it really was a problem people had. Uh, this isn't a horror story, but she spent something like $30,000 of her own money to build a prototype before she did any of what I'll call the business investigation. Can you talk about why either that's a good idea or not such a good idea, and what might be the benefits of not spending all that money up front?
Well, I think the largest benefit to not spending, let's say, your whole or more than your whole prototype budget up front is that product development is a windy, uphill, treacherous road. And there's monsters around the corner. There's potholes in the path. There's some shortcuts and all kinds of stuff like that. And so essentially, again, by overspending on your initial prototype, you can blow your budget on things that didn't need to be bought yet. And you can add so much difficulty and complexity to realizing that initial prototype that you burn out your people and crash the project. Things have to go in a way that people can see some near-term confirmation and some reward. I know that it can take years to get to that first prototype. It depends on the kind of thing that you're working on. So it's all sort of relative, right? I think that most people that are new at this are working on smaller projects with smaller budgets. And that can make things really, really touchy or sensitive for the smaller, greener outfit. Larger organizations or guys like Daniel that have been doing this kind of thing for a long time, they have a feel for how that's going to go and how to measure their efforts. But as for a first timer, I say shallow end first. And then if that goes well, keep wading in.
So Jubal, this is Daniel again. And my teams have done, hundreds of different products over the years, and from little to sophisticated. I have never, ever had a product turn out like it started.
Yeah.
Not once, not one time. And I'm not sure of anyone who has done a great product. So to Laura, your point about that customer discovery, the product isn't for you. The product is for your customer.
Yeah.
It's for those people out there. If you aren't engaging them from early on in this, I think that your product just won't come out right. So just from my experience.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's taglines in every office, right? So, we kind of have the not in a vacuum tagline to back that up. It's things need to be, the top of this little deck here was, I'm assuming that this is for business. And so we're talking about volume production and so on. It has to be the right thing or close to the right thing for people to go for it. And that doesn't happen in a vacuum by yourself. Probably not.
So what's the best, Laura's question made me think about it. So in the person that she was talking about, instead of paying $30,000, if she needed to do proper market validation, is the best thing to do is maybe have a drawing of it, or what do you recommend for a person that has an idea for a prototype to do inexpensive way to do market validation?
I think the least expensive is probably a written survey.
Okay.
Or a venue like this with a as large as possible trusted audience, and to just talk it out, or to have a written survey. Those, I think, would be the least expensive, best bang for the buck. Daniel, you got a trick there?
I loved your answer. I think you start with that, and I think the key there is trusted group, because people will talk you out of your idea for so many reasons.
But isn't that great? We want them all to say, "Oh, it's fantastic. I'll take 100."
I think what you want to do is be steeled to that. Talk to a lot of people. I love your idea of surveying. I love quick builds, trying something out, and then of course it's just make it work as quickly as you can, spending as little as you possibly can, and then it's iterate.
Yeah.
There's a couple questions here. One's from Chuck, and it says, what was the most challenging, interesting product that you have been involved in designing?
That's to me.
Maybe to everyone, but maybe I think specifically if you're you, Chuck, or Daniel, if you had something.
You know what? I'm looking at the art. I never had like whoa, echo. I never seem to have a canned answer for that question, but I'll go back to an answer I've used before. There was a startup in our region, couple guys, they were like in the Grass Valley area. And what they were onto wasn't terribly novel, but it kind of was. Anyways, they wanted to make cold water, and they were using a thermoelectric coupler to do this. And they looked at some different possible markets for what they wanted to do. And because of the various challenges that they found when they were looking for their customer, they landed on motorsports as a place to deploy their idea. And they were in a big hurry. And I still don't have a whole lot of cut and sew experience. I'm mostly hardware guy, done a few cut and sew things. And so what they and we had decided to do was a race driver's undergarment for regulating the race driver's body temperature. And what was the question, Rich? Favorite?
Or
Favorite or
interesting.
interesting?
Or
Favorite or
fun.
interesting. Okay, so interesting. They were in a big hurry. And we went from first conversation to units for sale at Laguna Seca in 6.0 months. How? Well, one of them didn't make it easier, but it made it more fun. And that was, I said, how would Nike do it? We're not Nike, but we wanted to try and do that kind of thinking on innovating a new solution, how it was going to happen. And then the other thing I did is I had all of my vendors in the Pacific time zone. That saved days or weeks easily, right? So I aligned suppliers from Kent, Washington to Grover Beach, California, and that was the final destination for every piece of material that we needed. The final manufacturing aspects of those components happened between those locations and in between. And so that was quite a rush. Establishing that mandate of, kind of the mantra, hey, how would Nike do it? The other thing that was fun is there was a product in market for about a decade prior to that. It was the Q-tip in the space, if you will. And to look at it, you'd say, this is dumb. Why'd they do it this way? And then you get into the project and you go, oh, I totally see why they did it this way. Number one, they were first, so they didn't know any better. Number two, they made it to market pretty easily, and they've been there for a decade. They're the name brand in the space. So what was fun is we had the benefit of their shoulders to possibly stand on. We couldn't say it was going to be 5x better if there wasn't something already there. So the mantra and the goal of 5 times better and doing it that quickly with things such as all of the team members being in one time zone, that was really fun. That was a fun project. And then a couple years later, their thing was bought by Momo. It's an Italian motorsports brand. So that was cool because I eventually got to work with the Italians and stuff. Yeah.
And I think we have one last question here. It's from Leslie. And I'll just read it. It says, when you are presenting a prototype to investors and buyers, what is the sales process and what you focus on and emphasize?
I would be mostly focused on illustrating how the prototype addresses the end user's pain points or lack of joy. I would follow that with the business case. What's the feasibility of this from the business standpoint, right? This is what it's going to do. This is what it's going to cost you. This is what you're going to make. Kind of in that order.
Okay. I think I have to wrap up because my kids are having dinner right now. So is there any last minute questions or comments here? Oh, and Jubal, here's your contact information. There, it's okay for people to reach out to you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was going to say, and Daniel alluded to this too. I tried to in the beginning. There's so much work in between the idea and these things that we've talked about here. I'm happy to, oh, you know what? I can put up a link for anyone to schedule a call with me. I'll do that now. But happy to go into in depth, with anyone on these things and stuff. It's a big world, and I think you would be misleading to try and simplify this subject into a really small one way to do it presentation. And so what I'm trying to do is just give you a couple hints that I have found to be massively valuable over the last over 25 years, massively valuable. And then if you can just use a couple of those things, that you will be a little better off than if you didn't, or you'll be a lot better off than you didn't. Those things being develop your requirements and build the right prototype.
Hey, Jubal, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you spent some time putting together your presentation. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining. Daniel, thanks for your input, and Leslie for pitching at the last minute. I'm going to take April off. I'm going on vacation next month. I'm going on vacation next month. And we are considering going back live maybe in May or June for some live events, but that's still up in the air. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming together today. And I will be in person at the Elk Grove event on, what was the date, Laura?
March 31st, pitch Elk Grove from 4:30 to 7:30 at the center at District 56 in Elk Grove.
Yeah, and Laura had me at free beer, so hopefully I'll see you guys there in person. Okay. You guys have a great day, and again, thanks for all that you do for us.
Hold on just one second. I'm going to put up a link for anyone who wants to schedule a call with me. I'm open, and you can pass that around if there's someone you thought could have benefited from any of this information today, and they were unable to make it. Happy to have a chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll leave it open, and then I'm going to go ahead and I can hear my kids calling me.
All right.
But you guys, everybody have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll let you go. I'll leave the meeting open if anyone wants to copy that Calendly link that Jubal just pasted there in the chat. And if you don't know this about Zoom, at the bottom of the chat next to the smiley face, if you click on the three dots that say more, you can click to save the chat. So all the comments that are in the chat will save for you. So there's your Zoom tip of the day.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for your kind attention and the few questions and stuff like that. So I wish everyone the best. Thanks a lot for letting me do this.
Thanks, Jubal. And
all right.
I'll go ahead and close it out unless someone shouts at me that they're still copying information.
I think they're all leaving.
Okay.
There they go. All right. Bye, Laura. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.